Welcome to Happy on Purpose with Janess Pearson. Real conversations with the people behind the businesses, the projects, and the good things happening in the Okanagan.
Today on Happy on Purpose, I'm joined by Jonny Braun, a police officer, author, husband, and dad of two wild boys. But the path that brought him here is anything but ordinary. Jonny spent part of his teenage years homeless, later studied social work, and worked with vulnerable populations, and eventually graduated from the RCMP Training Academy and returned home here to Vernon to serve his community. Along the way, he also became a writer and speaker, including giving a TEDx talk right here in the Okanagan. Jonny, I'm really glad you're here. Let's start at the beginning. So where does your story begin? The $1 million question, right?
To be honest, I grew up, had a normal childhood, normal teenagehood up until I was about 16, and then had a big falling out with my family.
Yeah.
Probably mostly my fault. Especially looking back. Back then, I didn't think so.
Now that you're a dad and a parent, you get it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it all kind of started when I was about 16 years old, and really over just one argument from what I can recall.
Right.
And then just stubbornness after that. And I didn't end up like homeless and on the street immediately.
To process.
Yeah, families took me in, couch surfed for a while, and then due to my own decision making when the weather warmed up, that's kind of where I ended up. I knew that a life of crime, addiction, and drugs was not in my future, even though I kind of was living parallel to that. And that kind of steered me in the right directions, as I was navigating that kind of life. So all started when I was 16, and throughout 17 was kind of the big year for me, where I was doing all kinds of, I was going to school, and then I was also living in parks and living on the school property. Yeah.
Wherever you could.
Wherever I could. The
Yeah.
air was warm enough to live, right?
Yeah.
I had some struggles. Nothing compared to what you might see on the street today. I didn't live a life of trauma or anything like that. So
just choices.
Yeah.
Slow choices that get you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But leaving home at 16 is a huge moment in someone's life. So what was going on for you at that time other than this one argument? Like at 16, I have teenagers, they get mad, they go to their room and they come back. And so there must have been something where you're just, like you say, stubborn enough or just going to do it on your own, or?
I think I caused a lot of grief for my family during that time in my life. And it was the only option for me.
So they encouraged your getting out.
Yeah, probably. To some extent. I think it was probably more of a bluff on their end, and because of my stubbornness, that's just kind of where it all ended up. So it's what was going on for me when I was 16? What probably a shorter answer would be what wasn't going on. As many 16-year-olds do, I was looking for a sense of identity, a belonging somewhere, something bigger than high school, maybe. So during that time, I went from playing football and being involved in sports and emceeing assemblies at school to finding punk rock. And I got involved in punk rock and joined bands, and it became my identity, really.
Yeah.
And it was an identity that my parents didn't really like. Everything's dark.
Yeah, it's like the emo nowadays, right?
Dark hair and piercings, and I want tattoos, So now I'm covered in them. So, but they're a little bit more accepting to it.
Yeah, well, now they don't have a choice. You're a grown man, and you've proven that you can survive whatever. So, what did those years teach you about people and survival then?
Yeah, I think talking about people, it just showed me that a person is a person, really,
Yeah.
So I don't view anybody as less than human. I think a lot of times people, we all have bias, and it's something that I didn't understand at that time. I understand it more now. I learned a lot about it in the textbooks, but I also knew about it from the other side, where I like I said, I live parallel to this other world.
Yeah.
And it's a world that scared the heck out of me. So I knew I was never going to travel down that path. But it just showed me that, I met a lot of people who helped me along the way, and they were some of the most unlikely people that you would think would help you out. So when I see people on the streets, if I don't know them, then I'm already to treat everybody like a human being.
Yeah.
And if I don't know them, I'm not going to judge them immediately. And sometimes I think just being human, we all have that sort of bias, and sometimes people don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of grateful that I have that experience and I understand those biases, so that I can check that when I'm feeling that. If I feel negative towards somebody, I go, okay, why am I feeling this way? Or that guy's being an a-hole to me.
Mm,
Like, why is he
yeah.
that way?
Yeah.
Not, okay, that guy's just an a-hole.
Yeah.
So I think it taught me a lot about that, like these people came from somewhere.
Hmm.
Now that being said, when someone commits a crime, to me, they're still a criminal.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
treat
there
them
is laws,
with
right?
respect, but I'm gonna hold them accountable to what they're doing. So and just being a police officer now, I kind of have I think perspective is a spectrum, and I'm kind of like, I kind of know where I sit in that spectrum.
Absolutely.
And then in regards to survival, I think survival is like it's innate in all of us.
Mm,
Um, so I think some people are more proactive and some people are more pro-social in their survival. And that was just me.
yeah.
That was just who I was inside. I wasn't gonna lead a life of crime or find survival, go down a different path for that survival. So it just showed me that survival is also a spectrum.
Yeah.
Like you can be on one end or the other.
You can. You
Just
can make it work
yeah.
somehow. Did you have run-ins with the police when you were that age that maybe, you got some good feedback or found some compassion there? Did that sort of make you go, "Oh, well, maybe this could be a path for me?" Or how did you sort of pivot to thinking social work and then RCMP work?
Yeah, I think those were two different paths. I didn't know I was going to go down both of them. Um, the policing, I watched the movie Speed when I was about 14 years old, and I was like, I want to do that. Jack Traven, he was like awesome. He was disarming bombs on buses, and I was like, yeah, that'd be
Be
really
the
cool.
hero. Yeah.
In my 7th year of policing now, I have yet to be on the undercarriage of a bus disarming a bomb. Thank God. Uh, but the social work probably piece was it was more so that part of my life where I wanted to be there for kids
Mhm.
who were navigating that kind of, maybe they were on the edge of destruction, and I could be like the person who they could come to.
Yep.
So that's why I got into social work. And really I wanted to get into youth probation. 'Cause I
Interesting.
thought, okay, these kids are already they've already fallen off.
Yeah.
Maybe I can, before they fall off completely and they take this terrible path, maybe I could be the one that helps them, um, follow that pro-social path rather than the path of destruction kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got my social work degree, and I think 4 months later I went off for police training. So,
Wow.
um,
Because I do say, you really just need one person to believe in you when you're, a youth particularly, right? You see somebody and if they've got a kind of a cool job, let's face it, being an RCMP looks really sexy. But, and then you see the other side of it too, the danger and whatnot. So I think, you know, what I'm hearing is just being that hero for someone else to say, you could actually do this.
yeah, I mean, if I could do it and get through it all, anybody can really.
Right.
As long as you've got a good head on your shoulders and you have someone that you can kind of turn to.
Yeah.
I did have people that I didn't do it all on my own when I was 17. I had lots of people that helped me out.
Amazing.
And I think it was I didn't have this like trauma piece. Like when I go to a file and there's somebody who's kind of living that kind of lifestyle, I know there's usually trauma involved.
Yeah.
So I navigate, or I approach that in a trauma informed, like I use trauma informed practice when I
Excellent.
go to a file. So maybe not everyone's doing that, but that's who I am. That's how I like to operate. So I approach that with empathy rather than sympathy, empathy rather than anger or judgment. I always tell people, even if in my mind I'm like, yeah, I know you did this, so
Mhm.
you did wrong here. I always tell people, like, it's not my job, even as a police officer, to judge you, to be the judge of whether you're guilty or not.
Mm.
My job is to gather the evidence and present that to Crown, and then you have to go and you have to speak for the things that you did wrong and hold there's some accountability there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's the beauty of you having that social work background because I worked with a lot of youth in my younger career in Calgary for the Calgary Board of Ed and in alternative programming. So a lot of the kids were street entrenched or they were in gangs already, and we had kind of kicked them out of the school system, so to speak. And there wasn't a lot of talk. We would bring in, police to talk to these kids from time to time, and trauma informed was not words that were being used. The mental health side of it, the not just what you did, but why you did it, was really not. I mean, this is the 90s, so it just wasn't part of the vocabulary. So I love when I hear that. That just makes my heart so happy because we have to. Yes, you're right. The law is the law. You did a crime, you're going to have to. There's consequences. But to come at it with that trauma-informed lens is pretty spectacular. Is that something that's promoted through our detachment here in Vernon?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's actually promoted through all of the whole organization, the RCMP.
Amazing.
So, it starts right from when you're in training in depot. So it was really nice to see that. You're just coming from a social work background. I
Yes.
had just done 5 years of post-secondary school in it.
Yeah.
So when there was that piece there in training, I was like, oh, I know about all this stuff. Like, this is great.
So good.
So it's good that this is, it's starting. It doesn't just start now, like while you're working. It starts right there, right at training. So and that was 7 years ago already, or 8 years ago when I went through. So
Perfect. I love hearing that. If you could tell your younger self one thing now, what would you tell them?
just I think probably would probably just be just stay positive, just remain positive. It's something that I was doing already. I just I don't know. I think there was a lot of negative stuff that was going on, and it was really hard sometimes to remain positive. But I always I always had jokes even when I was a kid, like in the most awkward, random times when I probably shouldn't have been joking around. But that was like the way I don't know, dealt with things.
Yeah, coping strategy. Yeah,
That's the way
humor.
it healed even, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be, just remain positive, keep your head above water, keep pushing through and keep doing what you're doing. Because like ultimately I wasn't going down a bad path. I was probably traveling a risky path.
Yes.
And I ended up down Lower East Side, down in Vancouver. I was in Kelowna, Kamloops for, and I kind of spent most of my time up in the Okanagan, really.
Mm.
But it was a really big eye-opening piece to be down Lower East Side for I think 3 weeks. I was maybe down there, and I was literally living East Hastings and Maine, and living in a tent. So
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and you think so that's like 10 years ago or whatever, it's probably just worse now. But I think that's important to kind of circle back for all the people that are parents right now of kids that are maybe having some problematic behavior that, it isn't always a major trauma. Sometimes it's just stubbornness, like you said. Sometimes it's just curiosity, even, and that sense of trying to belong. And so I think that's important that, you just need to be hearing your kids, supporting your kids, seeking out support for them. They don't have to have your story of that wake up call because things could have gone very different for you. It's a good thing you had a really good head on your shoulders and took the help that was coming. But, all the places you were, it's a pretty slippery slope,
oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Like your life could have been very different.
I saw a lot of people that were kind of teetering on that edge.
Yeah, sure.
And go down pretty fast. And it happens pretty quick, I think, when people start using, explicit drugs.
Absolutely.
And that's where I drew line. I didn't even smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
When I was through that time, there was maybe the occasional time, but it wasn't
sure.
something that
You weren't looking for hard drugs and escapism and all the rest. Yeah.
yeah. So that was probably what kept me above, I was winning the race because
Yeah.
of that,
Stay away from the drugs.
Yeah.
You can live on the streets, but stay away from that because, that's a whole nother journey.
Yeah.
I one thing about your I did watch your TEDx talk, and you talk about the lens and perspectives. I'm going off my notes now, so you're probably like, why are you not asking me these questions? But I like to follow the train of thought. So you talk about that lens, and that perspective switch up. So what does that look like now for you? Like, how would you describe that to the listeners?
Yeah, so I really strongly believe that we can have this positive like perspective, like we can view the world through this different lens without actually viewing it through rose-colored glasses, you know?
Correct. Yes.
So there's like a fine balance there, and sometimes I think hard for some people to see. You have the bleeding hearts that want to do everything, and then eventually you're like, okay, now you're enabling, or you're not empowering, you're enabling.
Yes.
So it's easy to take that path and think you're doing good, and I
100%.
understand like there's it's well intended, right? But then also, like, if you're enabling somebody to continue down that path, it's like, okay, now you've kind of gone a little too far.
Exactly.
Whereas you can empower somebody to start doing things on their own and being productive in society. So I think it's just, yeah, keeping that positive perspective. And I think for me, I like to view myself as more of a realist, a bit optimistic person. Like, I think I'm a realist with an optimistic, piece to it.
Film
Yeah.
over you.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, when you start, obviously you can't be that all the time, but I think there's like that, yeah, there's that balance that you can
Mm,
sort of travel down that and
absolutely.
year. But
Is this too shall pass? That means the good and the bad. We all the emotions are going to happen, but understanding that it's in your control to a big degree. When you were saying that about the enabling, it is very true. There's toxic positivity. There's also toxic support. And that's where boundaries, right? And I think as a society, we forget that the people on the street have autonomy. They actually have the right to choose. They may feel stuck in their circumstances, but what would be a better way, in your opinion, of supporting instead of just always saying, well, let's let them tent on the sides of the roads, let them take over Polson Park, all the things that you hear people sort of cursing at. How could we maybe be more supportive as a community to the homeless population that is more proactive and positive? That's a big loaded question that I did not prepare you for. So you can plead the fifth if you need.
No, I worked before I did this job. I worked for Work BC, and I think they have some really great programs and that's actually where I started. So when I started my social work schooling career, I guess,
Mhm.
I did the human service work program up at Okanagan College.
Perfect.
Those first 2 years were actually paid for me, and then I had to kind of figure things out as I continued my education. But
Mhm.
um, programs kind of like that, where we're not like that money wasn't just being put into my bank account.
Right.
It was going into a program, and I needed to follow through with that program and show them that, hey, yeah, I'm in this, right?
All
I
right.
want to do this. I think programs that kind of have that sort of, and not everyone's going to accept that. But
That's the truth. Yeah. Yep.
but I think the ones that are going to be more pro-social and, um, be able to actually act in society as like become part of society
Mhm.
and be productive,
Yep.
will follow that. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't have the money to, especially I'd say like the mother struggling to, keep her single bedroom apartment, get 2 children or something like that, may benefit from that before she ends up becoming homeless and needing to give up her kids or whatever.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
programs like that, where it's like, hey, we can help you with groceries, we can help you with maybe some rent, and even like the bus getting to school, like that stuff was all covered for me when I was going through it.
Amazing.
And so, and then my tuition, my textbooks, that kind of stuff was all covered. I just had to show them that I was like, yep, I got to keep my grades
You're
up.
gonna do
I got to
it.
do this. And
Mhm.
I think programs like that uh, could be very beneficial for a lot of people.
Right.
There's, like I said, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to accept that,
Yeah.
because I've also met a lot of people in the street who want to be there.
Yes.
They don't.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And especially in the Okanagan in the summer. I mean, talk about freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that we probably can't cover today. But have there ever been moments where you've encountered somebody and thought, that could have been me. Do you still reflect back on how close, or maybe you never believed that that was ever going to be your life?
Yeah.
Which was it?
So I knew that that wasn't going to be my
Yeah.
life. Um,
In your core,
yeah.
this was just circumstantial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take any of it back. Like I wouldn't go, oh yeah, if I was 16 and I just did whatever mom and dad wanted me to do in order to stay in the house, and I did it, and I wasn't
Mhm.
a rebellious teenager like the way that I was. No, I'm glad that it all happened and it worked out the way it did, because I am here doing what I'm doing now with the perspective that I have,
Absolutely.
because of all that. So no, there is one story in the book where at the end of the book, if you ever pick up a copy of it, it's full circle and it goes to where I get to help the next person out, because they hadn't quite fallen off
Mhm.
the bus yet.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, yeah, right in the end of the book, there's a full circle story about how I help somebody else out, and so you'll pick up a copy if you want to read that.
Mhm.
But that is probably as close to any of that as I came. I haven't yet to see anyone where I'm like, hey, that kid, he's kind of exactly where I was, and what's
Yeah.
going on here.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots,
Yeah.
but I haven't met anybody who, most of them get into crime or get into drugs or
Yeah.
get into something that I knew it deep inside, I'm never going to be doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which speaks a lot to your character. And I think that is one of the strengths here for sure. When there's probably people that have a different life story than you did, but they know in their core, this is not the life that's meant for them. So those are the ones I think that you're talking to a certain degree. Or the parents that are like, we did everything right. Maybe this kid just needs a life journey that isn't typical. And there's all of that too, right? We don't all fit into get your GED, go to school, get your job, work hard, go to university. Some of us take a lot more sorted path. Yeah, yeah, I did as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I didn't get to 57 and without some bumps along the road for sure. So you did mention your book. So let's maybe just kind of pick up from there. So you're also an author. You told us a little bit about the book, but what inspired you? I think you said somebody kept saying with all these stories, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Black Sheep is just like, I thought I was going to change the name of it as I went with it. But it's remained the same. It
Mm.
just hasn't changed. Black Sheep's an idiom for, someone who doesn't belong or fit in. And so I was like, hey, that's like kind of perfect to that situation. And pretty much throughout, like I've had people like professors and law enforcement, security guards and CVSA all like, oh yeah, like they like profile me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so pretty much in every aspect, you try going off to depot looking like me. It's not easy.
Oh, did you have all your tattoos and everything before? Yeah.
Yeah. So the book actually, it was more of I see a counselor, and so we did this thing called narrative therapy. So I was writing things down.
Yes.
And I was writing them all down for myself. And then it was somebody at work. I've had plenty of people throughout my life say, hey, well, you need to write a book because I have all these stories. I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
So you need to write a book. That would be really cool if you wrote a book. And I was like, if I wrote a book, no one would read it. And so then I said the same line. I've always said to that to people. And then Mike say, like I work with Mike Truff, and he said, if you wrote a book, I'd read it. And so I was like, all right.
Well,
So
there's one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you will read that book, I'll write the book. And so
Nice.
this kind of went from there, and then it snowballed. So it was like, okay, yeah, now I'm going to take all this and I'm going to rewrite some of it. And I'm going to just like write this story from kind of beginning to end almost. And it's a full circle story. And like in the end, it's kind of where I'm at
Yeah.
before I became a police officer. So, so it's like this full circle story. And I wrote it in, I think, a matter of months because I didn't have to make anything up. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it after editing and proofreading.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. But it wasn't so much work for me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, okay, I have to start this. This is my day off. Oh, yeah, I'm going to start at 8
Right.
o'clock in the morning. And
Go to the woods somewhere, rent a cabin for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
sit there and commiserate with yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was all just part of my therapy for myself.
Love it.
And no work has really gone into it other than that. I'll sit down maybe for an hour and, work on it. And then and then do something else, like
Yeah.
assessment
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably why it's taking so long.
Yeah. The easiest projects always take the longest because
Yeah.
there is no, you don't have to think about it. Do your kids know about your history? Are they old enough to sort of understand?
I think so I have an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old. 2-year-old obviously doesn't know anything. The 11-year-old I think has an idea that that dad lived a bit of a colorful life. But he just sees me now as the police officer and
Yeah, you're his hero.
the
It's
law and order.
wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Hero until you're laying down the law,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For sure. So who do you think is your target market for the book? Or did you just write it and whoever decides to pick it up? Or who would you hope would read it?
Yeah, I think it kind of developed over time. It's been rewritten a few times. But my demographic is generally it's going to be somewhere around 15, 16, just before, like as I was 17 when most of the stuff was happening.
Ooh.
So people around 15, 16, before all that stuff, before like all the major stuff starts happening in your life and all the change and transition or whatever else.
Yeah.
All the way up until like, I don't know, 60, 70 years old. Because I want the parents and the grandparents to be able to read it and view it and go, okay, yeah, this guy can make it through all this, and also have a good relationship with his parents now. Then this can happen for us, and hopefully we don't have to do all of this other stuff in order to have a good relationship now.
Yeah.
My relationship with my folks is awesome now.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah.
They're like my biggest support. Like I couldn't ask for better parents when I was growing up. And up until I was about 16, and then there was a blip kind of where things weren't going so good. To now, where they're great grandparents, they're awesome support.
Which is important, I think, to sort of wrap that properly. It's not like you were this, crazy dysfunctional family and kid, and then you just found yourself on the streets and you clawed your way and bootstrapped your way back. It was just circumstantial. It feels like it was a moment in your life that definitely shaped you, but it's not who you are. That period of time does not define who you are as a man.
No,
not at all.
Yeah, may have shaped that.
Yes, it was part of your story.
Like I was like, I don't think I'm a majorly different person deep in my soul from then to now. I think that's kind of remained very much the same, but there's a lot of stuff that's changed, and that is my perspective on life. So yeah, I think it was all very positive for me, whereas for a lot of people, it's not. It's a little had a negative experience. So I was very grateful and lucky that that's just how things happen for me.
Yeah. Having good parents. I say that a lot. If a kid is struggling, sometimes the parents are the ones that need to do the work. Not to get preachy, but that's just my own perspective. Okay, so you've done your TED Talk, and that is TEDx Kalamalka, I believe. So you can find you there. Your book is called Black Sheep, and it's going to be coming out.
I'm hoping for the end of the month or beginning of April, sometime around there.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't take any longer than that. It's been a long journey. Getting through it all, but it's in the hands of the proofreaders and editors and publishers in Texas right now, and we'll go from there.
Right. Yeah. Where are you hoping to sell it? How will people be able to buy it?
Good question. So it should be available on Amazon, and then it'll be KDP. You can get it for Kindle, and then
what's KDP?
KDP is the Kindle.
Oh, okay, like an audio or a.
Yeah, the audiobook.
Yeah.
And then Barnes and Noble should also be available there, I think.
Amazing. All right.
And then just wherever. What I'm basically going to do is put up posters with the QR code in certain areas like coffee shops and stuff, and anyone from Vernon will really appreciate it because there's a lot of stuff in Vernon, and like Vernon looks very different now than it did then. So anyone who's been here for a while,
are you have photos in there from that time?
Yeah, so basically what I did was I took certain photos. I didn't have a lot of photos because we didn't have phones like we do now.
Yeah. You had to actually get them developed. Yeah. You're showing your age now. Yeah. Time and money.
There's no digital copies, right? So there's a couple of photos, and what I did is I ran through AI, and then any kind of memories. I went downtown Vernon and I took some photos, and then I ran those through AI, and then I took some memories and just like put prompts into AI.
Wonderful.
So there is quite a few images throughout the book, and a lot of them are from the Vernon area. And then a lot of them are from Vancouver area.
Wonderful. I love that because we're all about community, both Happy on Purpose and Valley FM is a new community radio station. So anything that we can promote that is right here from our little chunk of paradise is amazing. So congratulations. That's really great. Well, I think we've probably covered just about everything for our short little time together. So, Jonny Braun, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. It's a powerful reminder that where we start, well, in your case, where your little chunk of life happened, doesn't have to define where we end, and that sometimes the hardest chapters in life become the ones that shape the most meaningful journeys. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. You can find more Happy on Purpose conversations on YouTube.